So recently the MMA Muse has been bombarded with headlines about Jon Jones versus Dana White and their whole saga of them going back and forth. It's been an absolute war zone between Dana White and Jon Jones over the past few days and the entire week as well, because remember, this goes way back to when Jon Jones claimed that he wanted to fight Francis Ngannou even though he never wanted to in the first place, and Dana White said that he was asking for too much money and the fight's not going to happen. That's when this all started, but recently there's been a lot more news coming out, and Jon Jones, in his most recent addition to the saga between him and Dana White, has claimed that he will walk away from his light heavyweight title, he will be vacating his belt, and he even suggested that Dominic Reyes versus Jan Blachowicz should take place in his absence for the vacant light heavyweight title for when he returns. I will say this, before we get into anything else, Jon Jones, great job making headlines, bro. Really, really good job making headlines. I don't think I've seen Jon Jones' name in their headlines this much without him committing crimes in what feels like weeks. Like, it's crazy. Jon Jones has had some good headlines recently. He's been walking around and, you know, maybe a bit of strong arm robbery of some art students, giving their spray cans over, cleaning up after the riots. I understand that as well. Jon Jones is doing some good things. He's also going after Dana White, making a bunch of headlines there. And his most recent headline is the vacation of his light heavyweight title, which is a big deal to everyone, even though he just said it over Twitter. And here's another thing I want to get into before we get into the rest of this video. I don't know if people know how the world works, but headlines of the MMA news companies have been saying that Jon Jones has vacated his light heavyweight title. Jon Jones said on Twitter that he is going to vacate his light heavyweight title. The real world is not Twitter. Okay? In the real world, if Jon Jones wants to vacate his light heavyweight title, you know what he does? He doesn't express that he wants to on Twitter. He calls up one phone call to the UFC brass and says, hey, I'm leaving, vacate my belt, and on the same minute, in the same minute that Jon Jones has apparently made up his mind and called up the UFC brass, they would remove him from the rankings if he was serious. Jon Jones is not vacating his light heavyweight title, but I want to talk about the whole situation overall, because I think we all know that he's not going to vacate his belt. I think this whole situation right now is just Jon Jones making enough headlines and creating enough hype around himself to inevitably lead us back round to him fighting Jan Blachowicz in a few months' time. I reckon within a month, we're going to hear that Jon Jones versus Jan Blachowicz has been signed for Fight Island. In my opinion, that's what's going to happen. I do want to talk about the whole situation though, because there's a lot more going on than just Jon Jones talking to Dana White about vacating his light heavyweight title. There's a whole situation right now where the MMA media and MMA community online as a whole can't seem to understand why Jon Jones doesn't make Conor McGregor money. I really don't understand that. Bobby Green came out in some... I think he was drunk on the video because he was getting really, really emotional about nonsense that he was spewing out of his mouth. But either way, I don't know if he... I mean, Bobby Green's kind of just drunk in general off of all the punches. He's punch drunk in reality is the situation. Brendan Schaub even came out as well and said, how can Jon Jones make this money? How can the UFC not market him? It's not on the UFC to market him. I don't understand why this whole thing has come around. I don't understand why no one can come to grips with why Jon Jones doesn't sell pay-per-views. He's not interesting. He's not a draw. He's a big name, and the only reason he's a big name is because he keeps on winning. If you keep on winning and you're in a larger weight class and not Demetrius Johnson, you will inevitably have a snowball effect of fame because more and more people have a chance to watch your fights the more and more times you do fight and win successfully because everyone loves a winner. Jon Jones, if he wasn't a winner and wasn't one of the greatest of all time, would not be known whatsoever. His interviews are boring. I'm saying it. I don't know why no one has said this yet. Jon Jones answers the same questions in every single interview, every single time. Gives the same answers in every single interview, every single time. There's nothing new and nothing interesting about Jon Jones other than when he makes headlines in his outside of the MMA world scenarios and shenanigans. That's the only thing that sells about Jon Jones, his controversy. I do want to talk about this though. Bobby Green came out and made the video. And it was weird to me because Bobby Green was speaking about a lot of things that me as a white person, I'm sure, could not weigh in on the situation. I know America's in a bit of a weird racially tensioned world right now with everything going on. I really do understand that. But Bobby Green came out and said that Jon Jones will never sell McGregor numbers because of the racism in American society and the fact that no one will ever buy his pay-per-views because they look at him and see an N-word, and that's all they see. They see him as an N-word, and that's all they see, and they see him as an N-word, and he just kept spewing out the same thing over and over again and saying that that's the only reason why Jon Jones doesn't sell McGregor like pay-per-view numbers. Name the last time Jon Jones made you laugh at a press conference. Name the last time Jon Jones was in a fight where he dominated and got a brutal KO. Name the last time Jon Jones got a spectacular finish. Name the last time Jon Jones took a risk. I could keep going on and on and on all I want. Name the last time Jon Jones left the weight class and tried something new. You're getting the reason now, and a lot of and Bobby Green came out and said it was strictly because of racism why Jon Jones was not selling as many pay-per-views as Conor McGregor. And then to that I say, okay, let's look at American sports stars. Is it racism, Bobby Green? Because Michael Jordan, LeBron James, even as an outsider, the biggest names I know of in sporting in America are black people. There's no racism in those areas, apparently, when they're selling all of their tickets and they're getting the multi-million-dollar sponsorships. And Deontay Wilder is... In the same sentence, Bobby Green says Jon Jones will never earn Deontay Wilder money because of the racism in America. That's why he won't earn Deontay Wilder money. Another black American who's making it very successful in boxing, despite fighting absolute cans his entire career and only having a big fight now and again recently. I don't understand why no one can come to grips with and just say it. Jon Jones is boring. No one cares about someone who doesn't take risk. Name the last time Conor McGregor was a minus 500 favourite. Name it. Dennis Seaver? I don't even think he was that big of a favourite there. Name the last time Conor McGregor was a minus 400 favourite. Name the last time Conor McGregor sat in the same division the entire time and fought guys ranked underneath him. Conor McGregor comes back after 2 years, fights Khabib Nurmagomedov. You know? That's what Conor McGregor does. Conor McGregor jumps up a weight class, takes a belt at a different weight class after completely destroying the featherweight division. Doesn't defend the belt, but he does jump up another weight class, challenge himself, fight a guy who just beat him, which Jon Jones could maybe learn a thing or two about by taking the Dominic Reyes rematch. I don't understand why we're finding, and I think it's the current climate of the world right now, it's very racially tensionated, if that's even a word. I think we're applying that into this situation when that belongs nowhere near this situation whatsoever, because name a person who has been treated better in the UFC than Jon Jones. Name someone who has been pardoned as many times as Jon Jones has for your USADA offences. Name someone who has been pardoned as many times as Jon Jones has for USADA offences that is at the upper levels of the game. I'm sure there are a lot of guys like Sean O'Malley who have had some situations play out, but name a champion who has got that prioritisation in their treatment around the USADA situation. Name someone who's had an entire event moved across the country so that they can fight on that card, because the commission won't allow them to fight in the current area because they failed a USADA test. Name another champion that that's happened with, that they've moved an entire event for and not given a damn about the rest of the fighters on the card because Jon Jones is all that matters. Name someone. It hasn't happened. I'm sick of hearing all of this. Why is Jon Jones not doing this? Why is Jon Jones doing that? Because he's boring. He doesn't take risks. Jon Jones knew exactly what he was doing by offering to fight Francis Ngannou. I said it before when he first mentioned the Ngannou fight. My prediction was Ngannou KOs him in the first round. My other prediction and my main prediction in that video that I made was that Jon Jones is not going to fight Francis Ngannou. Turns out I'm correct. Jon Jones has done nothing recently but catch himself red-handed in these conversations. Listen to the hypocrisy here and how you can tell Jon Jones is lying. Jon Jones, I asked for money, the UFC didn't want it. UFC goes, he was asking for Deontay Wilder money. That's unreasonable. Jon Jones comes back with, why shouldn't I make Deontay Wilder money? Proving that you probably did ask for Deontay Wilder money because you feel like you deserve it, clearly. Caught himself red-handed there. And even with the Deontay Wilder money, I understand that people want these MMA fighters to be paid quite a bit. The $500,000 show money that you see on their contract by their disclosed earnings is not the money that they earn. How many times do we have to hear DC talk about how he earns way more than people might think? How many more times does McGregor need to say in the interview that he could be looking at making 80 million when the UFC payout discloses that he made 2 million? We know for a fact that Conor McGregor does not make 2 million because he's donating. If Conor McGregor made 2 million against Cerrone, that was all of his earnings that he sent to the hospitals in Ireland. He's donated 2 million's worth of supplies to Ireland's hospitals. He's built 1 million worth of homeless houses in Ireland. That's all of his money then, right? No. People donate a very, very small amount of their money towards charity. That's usually how it works. Conor McGregor makes way more than what is disclosed. And then Dana White even comes out again. Jon Jones makes 500,000. No, he doesn't. We don't tell anyone the amount that the fighters make. The fighters don't want us to. If the fighters really wanted you to know how much they make, they would tell you. That's the truth. If Jon Jones really wanted to come clean here, he would say, this is how much money I make. This is how much money I asked for. Like any business negotiation would how any business negotiation would happen. This is how much money I made now. This is how much money I asked for. They said it wasn't enough. Why won't you let us know, Jon Jones? And then the media's like, release the text messages, release the text messages. I understand that we're all living in this fantasy world right now, but the billion-dollar company is not going to release their text messages with them negotiating fight contracts with fighters, because that's retarded. What are we going to do at press conferences from now on? Don't even have Dana White show up? Just say, Dana White, stick your phone on the table, unlock it for us, all the media members will go through it and you just leave. Come back in 30 minutes once we've got all the text messages down. What do they think the reality of the world is? Even Jon Jones on Twitter. How the media reacted to that by him saying that he was going to relinquish his light heavyweight title. Did Twitter not understand that how you relinquish your belt is by calling up Dana White and saying, I want to relinquish my belt. Within a day, it will be on the website that you've relinquished your world title. Like, you don't do things over Twitter like that. The same with the Usman versus McGregor fight. Usman offers to fight Conor McGregor. No. Ali Abdelaziz callously said, hey, Conor, do you want to fight for the belt? That's not a business contract. What's going on right now? Why can no one understand why Jon Jones isn't going to make ridiculous money to fight Francis Ngannou? He never wanted to fight him in the first place. And here's the weirdest thing about it all. Jon Jones wants ungodly money. Not ungodly. Let's say Jon Jones wants double his current money to fight Francis Ngannou. That's not so ungodly. He wants double his current money to fight Francis Ngannou. But against guys in his own division, he's more than okay to take those fights. More than okay to take those fights in his own division for the same contract. But against Ngannou, he wants way more money. I hate to break it to you guys, but Ngannou doesn't sell many pay-per-views either. You're talking about a card with Ferguson versus Gaethje. On the card, UFC 249, one of the biggest cards of the year. 700,000 buys. Was it 700,000? It might have been, I think it was around 700,000 buyers. But either way, the reason why Deontay Wilder makes the money that he does is because name another person on a Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury rematch card. Go. I'll wait. Look it up. Come back in about 5 seconds. You're just Googling it now. Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury fight card. Found anyone yet that you recognize the name of on that card? No, it's Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury that sell. Jon Jones's great pay-per-view cards have been UFC 200. One of the most stacked cards ever. Okay? 235. Another massively stacked card with huge names throughout. Ben Askren, Jorge Masvidal. Huge names. Kamaru Usman. 239 as well can be included. Great stacked cards that also attribute to the pay-per-view buyers. Jon Jones is not selling 1 million buyers. And for the people that don't understand why he doesn't make the McGregor money, it's very obvious. He's not a big draw. And why would you ask for this fight in the current climate of the world? You know you're not going to get that kind of money right now when the UFC aren't even willing to put on a McGregor fight just because they can't have a crowd. Jon Jones never wanted to fight Francis Ngannou. He's been caught out for lying, and this is his way of being on top and in control. So have your little authority and your power mad situation, Jon Jones, where you think you're in control of the situation, but the bottom line is You vacate your world title, and here's another thing that I could mention before the end. There's so many things that he's caught himself out on. Jon Jones, I don't get paid enough money in this sport. I don't get paid enough money to live comfortably. I don't get paid enough money to live my life the way I want to. I don't get paid enough for what I'm worth. I'll walk away from the sport. I'm fine. I'll walk away from the sport forever. Walk off into the sunset. Live happy forever. So you're clearly quite financially stable, Jon Jones. If you can just walk away from the sport, you're not walking away. No one walks out of their job and, hey, fuck you, boss. You're not paying me enough, so I'm going to go and live on nothing. You at least look for another job, which we haven't heard from Jon Jones yet. We haven't heard anything about other organisations. He says he's going to retire for good. You don't retire from your job because your job isn't paying you enough. And go to nothing instead. That makes... the whole situation's a bit weird. I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from here. I hope I've included everything, because I tried to record this twice. But, like, I don't get why people don't understand. Jon Jones isn't a draw. Him versus Ngannou would probably sell 500,000 buys. Maybe. Depends on the card underneath it. If it had a great card underneath it, maybe we're looking at 750,000. Not breaking any millions. Not breaking any millions whatsoever. If Jon Jones earns 5% of the pay-per-view revenue because he has his belt on the line, and this is another thing I may have already said in this video, he's earning 5% of $65 times 700,000. Jon Jones is doing fine. He never wanted to fight Ngannou. This is his way out of it. But at least it made it look like he wanted to in the first place. Good job, Jon Jones. Keep making headlines, though. It's good stuff. That way, when you do eventually sign to fight Jan Blachowicz, no one's going to be ridiculously disappointed in you. Good stuff. And then maybe next year, just like every year, Jon Jones is going to tease the idea of moving up to heavyweight again. And then there's going to be some undisclosed problem as to why he can't do it right now. A year ago, it was fan demand. The year before that, it was because he had unfinished business in his division. This year, it's because the UFC won't pay him enough money to fight Ngannou when they don't even have a fucking crowd. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I think Jon Jones earns plenty of money because I know about the money that goes on behind the scenes. Daniel Cormier has leaked enough for us about that whole situation. Conor McGregor has leaked enough for us about that whole situation. Khabib Nurmagomedov has shared enough with us about that whole situation. Jon Jones earns enough. If he wants to make more to fight Francis Ngannou, wait till the crowds are back. Dummy. You know what you're doing. Obviously, the UFC is not going to pay you triple your amount when there's no crowd. You never wanted to fight, but you're making headlines. So good job. Jon Jones ain't vacating his belt. He'll defend against Blachowicz in a few months on Fight Island. Click that button there. Goodbye. See you later.